So we saw that the nisim that happened, the miracles that happened to Nikono when he came to bring doors from Alexandria and Mitzrayim. He came to bring the doors, the famous Nikono doors on the Mizrach of the Azara. So there was a storm, and they threw one of them to the ocean, and they wanted to throw the other one. He hugged it, and he said, if you want, you throw me with it. And then immediately the ocean stopped from the storm stopped. And when they got to the port, he saw that the other one was under the ship, or they say that there was a biryo in the ocean that swallowed it and threw it back into the Yabasha. And it says, Shlomo HaMelech says in Shir HaShirim, Koirois batenu harazim reitenu beroisim. So broisim, we, instead of the vav, we read it bris yom or biryas yom, either the bris with the ocean or there was a biryo in the ocean which took it and brought it back. So all the sharim in the Beis HaMikdash, they switched to be gold besides of Shar and Nikono, either because of these miracles, we didn't want to forget the miracles, or because the copper was so nice, it looked like gold, like it says Nechoshet Koloniso Iso, like we saw in the Haftarah, which we just had in Shavuos, that the Chayos, their legs look like Nechoshes Kolol, which means very, very fine Nechoshes. Okay, now we see the people which they're maskedim nignai. So one of them is Beis Galmu, because they didn't want to teach how to do the lechem aponim. Another one is Beis Avtinas, who didn't want to teach the Maaseh Aktoires. Sugas ben Levi knew how to sing beautifully. He knew a trick how to make his voice even nicer. He didn't want to teach. And Ben Kamsel didn't want to teach how to do Maaseh Aktav. He used to write Hashem's name in full together. He used to hold 4 kulmusim and go together and write Hashem's name together. It says al Arishonim, it says Zecher Tzadik Livrocho, and on these it says Hashem Rishonim Yirkov. The Gemara says, as we saw, that Beis Galmud knew they were professional in Lechem Aponim, they didn't want to teach. So Chachamim tried bringing different professionals, but it didn't work because they didn't know how to bake the same way, to put it inside without breaking. So Chachamim, so therefore their bread used to get moldy. The bread of the new Umanim from Alexandria and Mitzrayim. So whatever Hashem did in the world is for His honor. If Hashem gave a person more chachma than a different person, so he should come serve Hashem with it. And Beis Galmu came back to their place, but Chachamim had to double their salary. Either their salary was 12 money, which was how much according to Chachamim the clothes of the Kohen Gadol was worth in the afternoon, and they had to double it to 24, and according to Rabbi Yehuda, they had to double it to 48. And the reason they don't want to teach, and that also was the reason that the Beis Avtinas didn't want to teach. And Beis Avtinas was the same Maaseh. They tried bringing Umanim, but the Umanim didn't know about the Male Oshon to make the smoke come beautiful. And again, it's called Pa'al Hashem L'Ma'aneh. If Hashem makes a person know something that no one else knows, it means that Hashem wants this person to work for Him. So therefore, they brought them back, and again, they doubled their money. And they both gave the excuse that Beis Abba know that this bias is going to be destroyed, and we don't want someone which is not mehugon to go do it for avodah zarah. Now, both of them are niskal leshevach that the kids of Beis Galmu never had pas nekiah, so people won't say, oh, they're eating the lechem aponim, and the people of Beis Avtinas never had perfume on them, even when their daughters were brides, they didn't let them have perfume. And when they married a lady from somewhere else, they made a t'nai, no perfume, so people shouldn't say that they're using the ktoires. The Gemara says that later on, Rabbi Shmuel said, I met one of their bnei bneiim, and I said, look, what happened? Your parents didn't want to teach. The Maaseh today, they have nothing to do with it. Rabbi Akiva said that one time Rabbi Shmuel ben Lugo told me that I saw one of their children that was crying and happy, and I told him what happened. So he said, I remembered Kvoid Avoisai, so I was crying, but I was happy because Hashem will give it back to us because I see the Male Oshon, but I can't show it to you because we have a Shavuot to not show it to anyone. But later, I guess, Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri says that Zoken Echod from Beis Avtinas gave him this Megillah, and he said, because I don't know anyone from my family to give it to, so take it and be careful with it. And says, אמר לי, כל מה שבית אבא היו כיום, לא ימויס לנויסו לכל אדם. ועכשיו הוא לכו ויזהר בו. What? Why is he giving it to him? No. He said, what did he have? He says, Megillas Amonim. So he says, when Beis Abba Yukayamin, I'm saying, if you look back in Shkalim, it's clear. He said when there were Ne'emanim. The Gilsa was Ne'emanim. Also over here, it's, or the Gilsa, it's Nuin, meaning they were trustworthy. Okay? So I'm saying, he said, so that they bring the side, the Gilsa from Yerushalmi, he said, yeah, no, he said, Rabbi Yochanan Menuri, you're a big Talmid Chacham, you'll know who to give it to that's trustworthy. I'm saying, it says the family is not trustworthy anymore, we'll give it to them, we'll go make money with it. Okay. So Rabbi Akiva says, okay, we see that they were really L'Shem Shamayim, you can't be Mesaper and Gnusam. And Ben Azai says, from this story, we see a big insight in life, that no one can take from you anything. Your Shimcha Yikrucha, Bimkoimcha Yoshivucha, Mishelcha Yitnu Lecha, and Adam Nogea B'muchan Lechaveiroi. You can't take from no one can take from you or give you anything, and you can't take from anyone else. You can just relax. Ben Malchus Nogas B'Chaverto Afilu Kelom Nimo. The Malchus is not touching Chaverto even Kelom Nimo. Sometimes kingdoms change overnight, and sometimes it happens in a day, because whenever is the time, it happens. Hashem has His plan, and there's nothing to worry about. Okay, Hugos ben Levi, what did he know how to do? He used to put his thumb into his mouth, and the finger used to put between the nimin, the way it seems from Rashi is over here, and he used to take such a beautiful voice that Echav HaKoyanim would like jump back. Wow. Okay, Ben Kamtzel didn't want to teach Maaseh Aktav, and everyone had answers why they didn't want to teach, but because they didn't want people to do it for Avodah Zarah, but Ben Kamtzel did not find an answer. So, Ben Kamtzel Chaverov, they say Shem Reshaim Yirkov, which means that we don't give people their name, and if they do give someone their name, he's not going to be Matzliach. The Rabbeinu Hananel says, as we saw, like this Doeg ben Yosef, that he was a little orphan, seems to be, that, and his mother used to measure him with fachim and give his mishkal every day, and then when the oyev came, she ate him. She killed him and ate him. And the reason that Hashem put the Jewish nation in such a terrible matzav is because they killed a Kohen Venovi in the Beis HaMikdash. The Gemara says, Rav Loza says, a tzaddik, me'atzmo en rosho mechaveiro, tzaddik me'atzmo yikotzet zecher tzaddik livrocho. When we're maskir a tzaddik, we give a brocho. And the Gemara says, we see it in the Torah, that it says, Hashem speaks about Avram, and then it says, V'Avram hayoyeh legoy otzum. And Shem Reshoim Mirkov, besides this, it says in the Novi, it also says in the Torah, that Avram Avinu, it says, Vayeh al Tzdoim, and then it says immediately, Vanches Doim, 1 second, it says by Avram. No, it says about Lot, Vayeh al Tzdoim, and then immediately it says, Vanches Doim, Roim v'chatoim la'Hashem me'od. So there was a tzaddik that lived between two Reshoim, which is Ovadio. He lived with Achov and his wife Izevel, and he didn't learn from their things. He hid the Nevim, which they tried killing. And there was a Rasha that lived with two tzaddikim and didn't learn from their Ma'asim, which is Esau. The Gemara says when Hashem gives a bracha to the tzaddikim, he curses the Reshoim, like we saw by Avram. And then Hashem says, Zakas doim v'amoyro ki rabba, and ki loson shel Reshoim, you learn bracha to the tzaddikim. Also, Hashem says, Anshes doim is bad, and then Hashem spoke to Avram. The Gemara says, Rab Lazar, even for one tzaddik, it's worth for Hashem to create the whole world. It says, Vayar Elokim esarir ki toiv, and toiv is a tzaddik, so it's worth it HaKadosh Baruch Hu to create everything, the whole creation, not just this world, the whole creation for one tzaddik. The Gemara says it's a bad thing to forget something from your learning. If a person, he spends time to forget what he has in his head, it's not good. It causes golus to his children, takes him down from his gedula. And also when a tzaddik passes from the world, Hashem creates a new tzaddik, Uzoch Hashem Shubah Hashemesh, like before the end of Eli, was already Shmuel. And also, because there's not so many tzaddikim, Hashem spread them. So all the generations will have tzaddikim. And one tzaddik yemi mekayem d'olam, like it says in the pasuk, tzaddik yesod olam. Or ragle chasid avishmor, which the Gemara learns a few things from this pasuk. Also, that if a person most of his life he didn't sin, so he's not going to sin anymore. So this ragle will be like soif. And also, if a person got used to not sinning one time and two times and he's not sinning, so Hashem will watch him already. The Shloki says, it says if a person comes to be nitail, so he gets help from Shamayim, and if he comes to be nitmal, so they just open the door for him and say, you want to go? Go. They don't help him. Like Tana the Rabbi Shmuel said, it's a mashal to a person which was selling something that smells good and something that smells bad. So if a person would come to buy something that smells bad, he say, okay, go do it yourself. But if he comes to buy something that smells good, he says, let's do it together. So we'll both get from this perfume. Aveiro closes the heart of a person. It seals it from chachma. So it says, "V'nitmeisem bo, maltiki v'nitmeisem bo, v'nitamtem bo." And if a person is metam himself, so they're going to allow him to be metam himself a lot, and be metam himself also to Olam Haba and also up. And if a person takes himself kedusha, so then he gets a lot of kedusha. So with that, we finish Perek HaMemuneh. So now, I don't know, we'll try. There's a lot of important svarim to be learned, and I want this to be I want this to be a shir that also other people can give. I don't want to need to sit here or stand here every single day. So start to Havas Chesed. It's very important. The Chofetz Chaim says in the Akdama to Havas Chesed that Hashem does Chesed with all His creation. Like it says in the pasuk, we say every day. We don't say this pasuk every day. We say different pasuk. We say and there's also a pasuk that says we say it on Shabbos. And more than that, Hashem called the Jewish nation His close nation. He loves them a lot until He called them Abonim and the Chelek of Hashem. And He commanded us to go in His ways, which is to do chesed and rachmim and chanino, like it says, Ve'ato Yisrael, Ma Hashem Elokecha shoel mimach, what does Hashem want from you? Just to fear Hashem, and it says, Laleches bechol derochov. You have to go in the ways of Hashem, to emulate Hashem. The Sifri says, what is the ways of Hashem? We have to go in the ways of Hashem. So it says, Hashem ken rachum v'chanun. And it says in the pasuk, whoever is going to be called in Hashem's name will be saved. At the end of days, before Mashiach will come, there will be hard times, and whoever is going to be Nikro and Hashem will be saved. So how can a person be called in the name of Hashem? So the same way that Hashem is called Rachum and Chanun, so you should be also Rachum and Chanun and give matnas chinam to people. And not just one time Hashem commanded us to do this. So he says in 8 places, and he says here the Mare Mekoimos, if you want to look inside, there's 8 places that Hashem says, command, go in the ways of Hashem. And besides this, the whole Torah is full of chesed and commanding us to do chesed, like we're going to explain B'ezrat Hashem later. And Hashem is mezarez us. Like by the Nevim, it says, Higid lecha adam hatoiv. If you want to know what's good and what Hashem wants from you, Kim asos mishpat ve'avas chesed. And all this for sure is only for our best, because Hashem wants us, like it says in the pasuk. This says that we mentioned before. What does Hashem want from you? Liro v'lalechas bechol derocha. And it says at the end of the pasuk, l'toivlach, that should be good for you. Meaning, the more a person got himself used in his life to do good and chesed, then according to that, he's going to get the hashpah of Hashem and the chesed of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the olam hazeh and in the olam haba. And we find in a few psukim that Chazal compared this special midah to Torah. For different things, also to be saved with it from every bad thing that happened in this world and in the next world, and also to be zeicher with it, to kol tuv. And since it's mentioned so many times, and I just want to go short, so I'm going to copy a few of Ma'amorei Chazal, and B'ezrat Hashem, the rest we'll see inside the Sefer. So he says the first thing, it's moil to be mechaper on the avonos of a person. Like it says in Mishlei, Bechesed ve'emes yichu paravon, and Chazal tell us in Brochos that Chesed is Gmilus Chasodim and Emes is Torah. And it says in Ovos the Rab Nosson that one time Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai came out of Yerushalayim and Rabbi Yoshua was walking in back of him and they saw that the Beis HaMikdash is destroyed. Rabbi Yoshua said, Oy Lonu, and this place that got destroyed, it's a place which gave kapara to the Jewish nation. So Rabbi Yochanan told him, my son, don't feel so bad about that because we have a different kapara, which is just the same. What is it? It's Gmilus Chasodim. Because it says in the Pasuk, Ki chesed chofatzti v'lo yizovach. Hashem says, I want chesed even more than what I want korbanos. And he says this midah makes a person's life longer, like we found in Bnei Eli. The Pasuk says, that, as we saw in the Gemara in Yoma, that Bnei Eli were sinning in Bizayon Kodshim and perhaps also in Gilo Arayos. So Hashem gave a curse on this family that they're going to die young. And it was a gzar din with a shvuah that Hashem doesn't go back on it. But even though that Hashem made this gzar din, Hashem gave a hint to them that if they'll do Torah and Gvilus Chasodim, they can live longer. Because Hashem says, I swore to the house of Eli that they won't have kapara with a zevach and a mincha. So Abaye explains they can't have kapara with a zevach or a mincha, but it can be miskaper with a Gvilus Chasodim. And the Gemara brings in Rosh Hashanah, which Bezrat Hashem will see, that Abaye and Rabbo, both of them came from the house of Eli. And Rabbo, which was Isaac Bat Torah, he lived for 40 years, and Abaye, which was Isaac in Torah and Gmilus Chasodim, so he lived 60 years. So sometimes a person thinks he's doing for someone else, he's wasting his life, but many times this time is not counted. You get extra life for the time you use for helping other people or for learning Torah. And it's also moili not so mechevlo shel Mashiach, like Chazal say in Sanhedrin. The Talmidim of Rabbi Lezer asked him, what should a person do and be saved from chevlo shel Mashiach? There's bad times before the Mashiach comes. It's like chevel. Chevel is like contractions. So contractions are very painful. There's a contraction, then there's a stop, then there's another contraction, and it keeps getting more and more serious. So what should a person do to be saved? So he told him he should be oisik in Torah and Gmilus Chasodim. So Torah and Gmilus Chesed, and the schus of the Gmilus Chesed is standing for a person for his whole generation that come after him. Like Chazal say, the Chesed is standing to a person until the end of generations. Like it says in the Pasuk, V'chesed Hashem me'olam ve'ad olam al yireo. In this mitzvah, there's big shalom between us and Avinu Shebashamayim. Like Chazal say in Bava Basra. And since this midah is such an important midah, like it says in the Medrash Rus, that the whole Megillas Rus is really, we read it just because it's Gmilus Chasodim. And it says, Bo rekam hakoichon shebal tzedakah and goyim lechesed. Come see the power of the people which are bal tzedakah and do chesed, that they're not being protected by anything else in the world that you would think that it will be good enough to be protected. They're being protected by Hashem Himself. Okay, so this was the first part, learning Avas Chesed. Now the second part, we Be'ezer Hashem Chofetz Chaim and Shmiras HaLoshen today. Maybe different days we'll do different things. And maybe tomorrow Noam will stand there and say something good that he can think of. Maybe, I don't know, maybe he'll do another shir. Maybe teach us about something about chinuch of kids or shalom bayis or something. Okay, we'll see. Or something else that he wants. So another thing is Shmiras HaLoshen and Chofetz Chaim, because Chofetz Chaim said that the reason that the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed is because the Jewish nation were involved in Sinas Chinam, which he says means Lashon Hara, and we have to fix it in order to get Mashiach. So really the Chofetz Chaim was always in his time talking about that Mashiach is coming, and someone said, but you're already saying it for 30 years. So he said, so if I'm saying it for 30 years, so it's even much closer. So the Chofetz Chaim used to explain that the reason that how can we think that we can get Mashiach if previous generations didn't get it, and they had greater people. So the Chofetz Chaim said a mashal on it. He said once he says, there was a person that he took a big loan and used to work to pay back his loan. So the more time that he works, the smaller the loan gets. So now it will be easier for him to pay back the loan. So he said that when Klal Yisrael went to Galus, it was nigzar on Klal Yisrael how much pain they're going to suffer. So he said there's two ways to go: either to suffer the pain, or to pay back with doing tshuva and fixing the deeds which we need to fix. So he said, so the more time that passes and the more tzarash that the Jewish nation have, it's much less to pay. So the Chafetz Chaim thought in his time that there was much less to pay, and that was before the Holocaust. He didn't know how much more tzarash the Jewish nation has to go through. But now that we passed the Holocaust and everything, so it's even so much less. So just maybe if every person will be mischazek a little in fixing these inyonim which caused the churban, we'll be zoiche to Mashiach v'imheira v'yomeinu. So let's just start. I see everyone is coming in from Ma'ariv. It means they were running out of time. So what is Lashon Hara? People know you're not allowed to talk Lashon Hara, but the Chafetz Chaim said if you don't know what it is, you can learn from today to tomorrow not to talk Lashon Hara. So it's not going to help. So Lashon Hara is saying something bad about the person or something that can cause someone damage. Even if it's not something bad, you're just saying something that can cause someone damage, it's also considered Lashon Hara. So if a person said something bad about his friend, it's Lashon Hara, even if no damage is going to happen to him. Just saying bad about a person is Lashon Hara by itself. And also saying something that can cause someone damage doesn't make a difference if it's a monetary damage, a physical damage, an emotional damage, or any other damage is also Lashon Hara, even if what you're saying is not something negative, even if it's not something bad. Yeah?